Digimon Ghost Game, the most recent Digimon anime that ran from October 2021 to March 2023, is now over following episode 67, the finale, and I have thoughts, I have questions, I have praise, and I have criticism. I don't think anyone quite predicted how this show would end. A lot of you in the comments are very clever, and I don't think anybody, myself included, had this ending on their Ghost Game bingo card. But that's okay. We're here to talk about how Digimon Ghost Game ended. I'm in this weird state of confusion and disbelief, and maybe you are too. Can't wait to talk about this strange show with you one last time, so here we go. This is a standard 23-minute episode, no extra time added to the end. We pick up precisely where we left off with a hole in Siriusmon's chest. Gullimon is in some purgatory state, reliving key moments from the series and revisiting key locations when Regulusmon begins to consume both the world and Gullimon himself. Regulusmon is absorbing Sirius's data when time suddenly stops. A voice says to Hito, "I've made time 1,000 times slower for you and Siriusmon. You may be able to bring Siriusmon back." Hito then dives into Gullimon's heart, Kingdom Hearts style, finds a fake Gullimon. Inexplicably, Hiro is able to transform his own arm into Siriusmon's Cosmo Blade kind of arm gunblade thing and attack Regulusmon. This was unexpected and legitimately kind of neat. We're 3 layers deep into pocket dimensions inside of pocket dimensions, so I don't need any explanation for how he could do this, but I was surprised to see him just kind of stop there. Hiro used Cosmo Blade once, and then we move on from this premise entirely. Hiro finds Gullimon, is able to save him by calling him his little brother, and then we exit Siriusmon's heart to find a healed Siriusmon ready for round 2 against Regulusmon. Dilbitmon and Amphimon are ready to help, but Siriusmon forbids them, which is kind of a bummer, a huge raw deal if you're a big fan of these characters. In the series finale, Kyo, Ruli, and their partners had nothing to do, frankly. In the battle though, Gullimon swaps between evolution forms in the final fight in order to dodge and weave between attacks. It's super fun. We kind of expected to see all of his forms appear once more in the finale, and got that here. Siriusmon's gun blades are broken off, revealing that he has humanoid fists underneath, not unlike Wargreymon and the Dramon destroyers. Now he finally uses this technique called Planet Knuckle, a move I know a lot of fans have been waiting to see after reading about it in the official Siriusmon description many months ago. And yeah, so Siriusmon punched the Regulusmon right out of Gulus, causing the villain of Ghost Game to revert to champion, to the Gulus form. We get some of the best drawings of Gulus Gullimon we've ever seen in this final instance. Gulus offers Siriusmon a spot in his army, not unlike the offer Lilithmon made, who, by the way, is not at all relevant in this finale. Surprise. By the way, how is Moon Millenniummon doing in all of this? I digress. Then in one of the most horrifying sequences of the series, the mouth of Siriusmon opens up and he devours Gulus like a nightmare version of Kirby, allowing Gulus and Gamma to have a quiet one-on-one conversation inside of Siriusmon's body. It's very brief though. Gulus just says, "I was devoured? Really?" Gammamon smiles and Gulus continues, "Okay, fine, it's my loss." Then Gamma says, "Okay, rule number 1," presumably about to tell him the rules of being part of Gammamon. But before we can hear those, we cut back to the battleground. Siriusmon is back to Gammamon form and Bloom Lordmon wants to know what happened. Gammamon says, "We made a deal. Medicine. Gulus Gammamon made it." And then we see glowing white data pouring out of Gammamon into the digital world, purifying the land and the Digimon who were affected with that black and pinkish purple color scheme of Gulus. And that is mostly the end of Gulus Gammamon. We get a bit more in part 2, the back half of this episode, but there we have it. After 60 plus weeks of build-up and anticipation, Gulus is inside Gammamon. Again, except this time he accepts he's not the strongest, I suppose. Apparently he can create an antidote to the Gulus Realm Burst, which comes out of nowhere, but I don't criticize this too hard. If he can create the GRB, I can find it in my heart to believe he could revert it. It's not that big of a deal, so whatever. But it is a painfully underwhelming resolution to all of this. Arcturusmon is not here, Proximamon is not here. These evolutions were not promised, but it is odd that our final episode of the series had no new evolution. You know, think back to Adventure 2020 delivering Omegamon Alter S in its finale. Nothing like that here, even though we had 2 potential new transformations. Bloom Lordmon lets us enter his master's chamber so we can finally meet the voice. It's a brand new Digimon, Quantumon, who knows all about us. She's been connected to the team through their Digivices. She says, "You look like you have questions," practically talking to the audience at home. Here, with about 10 minutes left, Ghost Game tells us everything, and I want to say it's closer to when Hokuto explained the Digivices than it is to Regulusmon explaining GRB, which is to say, it's messy, it's clunky, it's kind of silly. Let's just get into it. She says, "I am the one who sent Digimon to the human world to protect them from the corrosion emotion and cut off the digital world to stop the spread. Yeah, so that's what we had come to expect these last few weeks. Hito, but wait, Digimon have been coming to the human world for a long time. That's a great point. She doesn't address it though, she just continues monologuing. What's the future of these two connected worlds? I've run trillions of simulations to find a stable future, but no matter how well things went, most of them led to the collapse of both worlds. Why? Emotion. Illogical human emotion is unlike anything we Digimon have, and it's caused to repeatedly make unthinkable choices leading to collapse. While I may understand emotion as data, I can't experience it. By living with them, human emotions begin to influence you. I sent Digimon to collect data on human emotion. So, okay, if we rewind to episode 1, Clockmon, Gamamon, it appears that Quantumon sent characters like Clockmon into the human world so that they may experience human emotion and relay that back to her, I suppose. When she says this, Black Tailmon appears, so Black Tailmon was in fact a servant of Quantumon. That's fine, I guess. Quantumon worked with humans over email to develop items like the rice cooker Black Tailmon used in episode 8 to create portals, and the Digivice itself, which she apparently made in collaboration with Hokuto, though like the other humans, he wasn't aware that this online collaborator was basically a god of the digital world. So here we have our answer to the Digivice. It was made by Hokuto, but it was also made in collaboration with Quantumon, and I don't think he really understood the extent of what he was making. As for why Black Tailmon would occasionally pick up some Digimon and return them to the digital world throughout the series, Quantumon says, quote, Digimon who collected data for me would be retrieved by Black Tailmon and I would analyze the data. But I need to push back on this logic though, because Black Tailmon brought Digimon back like max 5 or maybe 10 max times out of 60 plus encounters. The other times, those Digimon just stayed in the human world. Quantumon implies that the Digimon brought back successfully had collected worthwhile data about human emotion, suggesting the others who were not called back did not. But I don't believe there was anything happening in those encounters in episode 8, for instance, that revealed more info about humans than any other episode of the series. This part was extremely messy to me. It felt like them trying to explain why Black Tailmon brought back some Digimon, but not all, retroactively. I didn't particularly care for this part of the lore dump. And it seems I'm not the only one though, because Hiro and the other humans push back on this as well, saying the Digimon did this without knowing. You used Digimon like they were your pawns, like some sort of game. Ruli says they were all distressed after being suddenly thrown out into the human world. Quantumon says perhaps, however, it was necessary. She says that witnessing synchronization with humans led to such amazing evolutions. Quote, I immediately introduced a limiter, but it couldn't prevent mega evolutions. Here, I guess she's talking about the limiter on the vital bracelet whenever we'd go to ultimate and then power down. But why did she introduce a limiter? This actually may be my least favorite part of this exposition dump, because they're now just trying to check off boxes. If she was interested in seeing the results of human and Digimon synchronization, then why limit it? And also, the limiter didn't work as they achieved mega anyways. This is so weird. We're drowning in questionable exposition when Gamamon's eyes go black, suggesting Gulus is still in there, and then the boys show up. Black Gargamon, Black Agumon, and Black Growlmon. I'm excited to see them. Quantumon says, don't worry, they were sent to monitor Gulus Gamamon and are immune to the GRB. So they are not part of Gamamon's dark GRB army, but instead immune to it and serving Quantumon. Yeah, we had this theory in mind for a few weeks. I'm extremely glad these three and Black Tailmon did show up in the finale, but it doesn't mean I'm impressed with the payoff. No battle, no evolutions. It feels like they just showed up so that fans like me technically can't say that part of the story wasn't paid off. They were here in the end, but they were incredibly pointless the whole way through. Gulus's voice comes out of Gamma's body but isn't wanting to fight. It says, don't worry, I was forced to follow a bunch of rules. Anyway, it's coming. The Endbringer. I just double checked online and there has been no mention of the Endbringer until just now, about 7 minutes before the final episode of Digimon Ghost Game ends. So what is that Endbringer that Gulus fears? We cut to a shot of a sun exploding and taking a planet down with it or something. Gulus tells us where he originally came from, and it's so incredibly silly, and this is where, in my mind, the ending of Ghost Game truly goes off the rails. Are you ready? Gulus's origins.
Space!
Quote, I came from space. The planet I'm from was devoured a long time ago, but my mission isn't over. I will devour it. I guess he's referring to the Endbringer. That's it. I guess Gulus wants revenge on whatever destroyed its homeworld. Was it a living thing, a meteor, an exploding star? Unclear. It doesn't matter. So Gulus left its home planet but arrived in the digital world. No explanation for how this alien life form came from the human universe but arrived in the digital world, mind you. Hiro, so the whole reason you built your army was to devour this entity. When will it get to Earth? So here I'm thinking maybe, just maybe, the Endbringer is coming like right now, even though that would be incredibly rushed. And in the final few minutes of the show, Proximamon fights off a meteor or some cosmic horror. Or maybe Moon Millenniumon's powers over space and time come into play, but no. Turns out the Endbringer is going to reach the human world in 2,000 years. The humans aren't worried at all, but all the Digimon are panicked by this, perceiving time differently. Quantumon, we need to call back all the Digimon. Help us, you unparalleled specimens, referring to Angoromon, Jellymon, even Espimon. A meeting of the two worlds now will end tragically. They must be separated. So here she's forcing them to split, I guess wanting to protect Digimon over humans. I think she's saying she's okay with the human world being destroyed in 2,000 years by the Endbringer, but wants Digimon back and safe in their own world, suggesting their world would be safe. But this is all messy. Do we know if there are any ramifications to the digital world if the human world is destroyed by the Endbringer? Again, if they're entirely separate, then how did Gulus encounter the Endbringer in the human universe but then end up in the digital world universe? Anyways, Hiro and his friends say things like, no, we should stick together and work together to stop the Endbringer. We can coexist. There has to be a way that avoids collapse. Quantumon, but that path is very narrow and fragile. You still wish to take it? We then see some Digimon sent back to the digital world and digital devices come back online. Hokuto is riding on Ginryumon and says, looks like Hiro and his friends did it. I should be getting back then. Ginryumon asks, what was Gamamon like when you first met? Hokuto, for some reason, everyone was afraid of him. Gamamon was ostracized and really prickly. I was right to leave Gamamon with Hiro. So here again, I can't say there was no reason given for why Hokuto sent Gamamon away to Hiro in the human world. I guess he was a poorly behaved Digimon and Hokuto thought his son was so kind that his kindness could shape Gamamon into a kinder being. Back in the digital world, Quantumon looks at the kids and said, you will all become leaders who bridge the two worlds and create a new country where Digimon and humans can live hand in hand. I want to point out here, they're saying Kuni, and the Crunchyroll subtitles say it's country, but Kuni is a tricky word to translate. Lots of ambiguity. It can be translated as country, nation, state, kingdom. So are they creating a literal new country, a new land? It's super vague, but we'll hear a bit more in just a sec. We flash forward to a breakfast scene, maybe a day or two later. Hito, Espimon, Gamamon, and Kotaro. Hito's friend asks, so how are you going to make this country? Hito, we'll make it work. You'll help, right? More time passes, not a significant amount though. It's not like Tai as an adult in the 02 epilogue or whatever. Everyone's character models are still the same high school versions of themselves. Hito is giving some kind of presentation. Quote, the new nation of humans and Digimon will be an uninhabited parallel digital world Quantumon is providing. In my notes, I just have question mark here. This is so vague and unexplained. So they are creating a new world that humans can leave Earth for to inhabit with Digimon. It's so strange. I don't know if the idea is they want humans to leave behind Earth since the Endbringer is coming for it in 2,000 years. Again, because they don't explain what the Endbringer is, I'm just picturing like a meteor that will destroy civilization, but it's open to interpretation. So I guess Hito and friends are trying to get as many humans to sign up to join them in their new third dimension. It's like a Mars colony or something. It's so bizarre and coming out of nowhere. Kiyoshiro is rushing over to some African conference when he gets a call from the president. Ruli's friends read about a new nation seeking new citizens, and they're intrigued by this. Ruli is on piano writing their new country's national anthem. Again, I have no idea what is happening anymore. This is an absurd pivot for Ghost Game. We're completely off the rails. Angoromon delivers one final poem for the end of Ghost Game. Emotion and instinct have no rhyme or reason. It is better to do something than to study it. The narrator comes back and he reads his typical intro line just at the end of the episode this time. Holograms, a new technology. In the near future, paranormal phenomena frequently occur. Humans began to refer to them as hologram ghosts. And it's kind of presented like this should be a revelation, like it's been recontextualized or something, but it's not. It's the same line at the end of the show. Nothing's really changed. Hito, back from his speech, is reading emails in his dorm, I guess. He says, wow, I have so many messages. There's so much to do. Gamamon says, I'm right here with you. Hito says, thanks, Gamamon. Gamamon says, I'm Gamamon, Hito's little brother. And that's how the and that's the end of the show. That's how we end what I believe to be the strangest Digimon show to ever exist, with the strangest Digimon finale to ever exist, I think. I don't know if I'm in shock or I'm just exhausted, but I don't feel like any anger or disappointment. I just feel confusion. For all the people who have been hoping a season 2 is coming, I guess technically this is an open-ended ending, but no more open-ended than any other Digimon season. They always kind of end this way with some hopeful ambiguity. It's really not much different than Adventure 2020's ambiguous open ending, and 2 years have passed since then and nothing's come from that. I don't think we're getting a season 2. I think this ending was ridiculous. I don't know, am I off? I will have to revisit this in a week or two and put out my final thoughts on Ghost Game after the dust has settled and I've heard more of your comments and maybe read some other opinions online. But 67 certainly didn't redeem Ghost Game or solve all my problems. I can't think of an ending to an anime that has puzzled me the way this did, besides maybe Promised Neverland Season 2's ending. And for anyone who watched that show, me comparing Ghost Game to Promised Neverland is not a good thing. It's like this wanted to do the 02 epilogue, but also didn't bother creating new adult models for the characters when they were doing their conferences and whatnot. In the 11th hour, we have a new sinister force, the Endbringer, which we do not get to see, we won't see for 2,000 in-universe years, long after Hito and his friends have died, unless they live for eternity when digitized or something like that. Maybe their consciousness can live on, but who knows, because Ghost Game had no time to explain how any of this will work. I'm trying my best here to guess that maybe this vague Endbringer is like a stand-in statement for climate catastrophes or some other natural world-ending threat, but what is the real-world lesson to take away here? We should work together with computers to start a new country to leave Earth. It's so bizarre. I have to know what you all think in the comments this week. What a strange way to end a strange show. We can talk about it in another video, but no Moon Millenniummon crystal usage, no Lilithmon, Felismon, Weedmon, and a handful of other troublemakers are still out there. I wanted so badly to be pleasantly surprised by the finale, just like I was pleasantly surprised by 66, but this was such a weird mess. I disagree with so much of the writing of this show and the overall roadmap. So much potential, so little reached. Alright, let me stop here as I'm running out of gas. Just, this is how Ghost Game ends. It's, I do want to shout out all the animators who worked on this show. I fundamentally disagree with the writing choices of this show, but I think Ghost Game consistently looked gorgeous in motion and just the character models in general. Brilliant looking show, brilliant designs, fantastic animation, so congratulations there. And to anyone watching, thank you so much for joining me on this weird journey. The channel isn't ending or shutting down or anything like that. In fact, on my second channel right now, I put out a video just this moment that goes over my plans for what happens on the TheDigiKnow next, now that there is no weekly Digimon anime on the horizon. We're still going to keep talking Digimon news and nostalgic lookbacks, but for more information, watch that video on the second channel. Sorry we couldn't end Ghost Game on a high note, but thank you for making it to the end with me. Thank you for watching. Have a great week. I will see you in 2,000 years when the Endbringer gets here.